Last week, after some pressure, the MLB officially announced it would be pulling its All-Star game and the Major League Baseball draft out of the city of Atlanta in response to the new voting laws enacted there, SB 202. Part of the statement from MLB read, quote, Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions to the ballot box. Renee, last week we discussed how the response to SB 202 can't just be, having discussions about having discussions. It's nice to see some actual action here.
Yeah, the MLB was about that action. And the problem is for the city of Atlanta, that's a big boost to the economy. So while the MLB moved the All-Star game out of Atlanta, and we get why, I support why they moved it, it's also tough because that could have been a big boost to the economy. We all know with COVID and everything being shut down, that would have helped. But again, we knew that the MLB had to do something, basically. What we were talking about last week was you can't just have conversations about having conversations. You got to be about that action. MLB showed that they're about that action. And so, it didn't help also that our Georgia governor just kept doubling down, 10 toes down. And just like, there's one thing to maybe be salty, but it's like the salt was just dripping all on the floor. It was everywhere. You could feel how upset the governor was, but it's gone now. The game is gone. We got to do better. Do better, Georgia.
So Brian Kemp said, in part, in a statement, flanked by various Georgia government officials, he said, quote, today, Major League Baseball caved to fear, political opportunism, and liberal lies. I will not back down. Georgians will not be bullied. We will continue to stand up for secure, accessible, fair elections. Now, I'll say this, like the All-Star game, pulling the All-Star game, it is on the one hand, it's an exhibition game. It's kind of like the lowest bar for them to clear to do something. On the other hand, this is an extremely conservative sport. Recently, a broadcaster was caught on air saying homophobic slurs. Young Latino players who make up a good portion of the league are often criticized for being too flashy, for the bat flips. This is a sport that has had only a handful of black managers in its history, and that only, I think, less than 8% of the players are black. This is down from an all-time high of like almost 20% 30 years ago. 70% of the fans are men 55 and over, mostly white. So this is a conservative sport. So this is a big deal. This is a really big deal that they did this and bucked, a good portion of their fan base in order to do it.
This is a really big deal. And for the reasons you said, but also because the Braves didn't even come out and make a statement. Like the Falcons made a statement. United made a statement. Atlanta Dream, y'all better know where we stand, but we also were the first ones. We were the first ones to make a statement from the sports teams here in Atlanta. Shouts to Susan A. Bear, who's the president of our team. But I think it's a big deal because our own team didn't even make a statement, yet they still pulled the game. And so I just hope people, LeBron James tweeted, proud to call myself a part of the MLB family today, at More Than a Vote. There were a lot of people that chimed in because while me being a Georgian, and then the fact that the governor said that Georgians will not be bullied, I felt like I was getting bullied by SB 202. Yes. So stop bullying us. Yes, I like that.
Let's just briefly, obviously we talked about this SB 202 last week, and there's been a lot of coverage of it on various crooked shows, but part of what it does is it adds new identification requirements for absentee voting, limits the use of drop boxes, grants more authority for the legislature, which basically, takes the certification authority away from the Georgia Secretary of State. It made it a misdemeanor for groups to drop off water and food to voters that would be waiting in line. And all of this, I think, it kind of like a thing that's been lost a little bit in all of this is it would have been a really, really bad look to have the All-Star game there in Georgia and to honor the late Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
At that game, as MLB certainly wanted to do, while SB 202 is being enacted in that state. That would have looked bad.
That would have
really
been
bad.
Wild. Another thing is, so I know a lot of people know this, but that was like my whole outreach. Like I was bringing food and water to the groups and to different things. So when I saw that bill, I was really confused. They're talking about how the bill helps expand voter out.
Yeah.
Why would me bringing food and water be a detriment to voters? So that's why when we say things like make it make sense, certain things don't make sense. Why is that even in there? It's irrelevant. It's pointless. But it's something that we know that has been seen. We were throwing parties. I'm not gonna lie. We were throwing parties because we had to wait so long. And so now, because the lines were lit, if you had to wait in line, it was lit. There was music, there was food, there was drinks. They didn't like that because we was going to stand and wait and we was going to listen to our music and we was going to have a good time. And so then you can just see what the bill is trying to get at. For people that don't understand, well, who is that targeting? It's targeting different people. It's targeting certain demographics, having to have multiple forms of ID. A lot of people don't have that. If you're sitting there thinking, oh, that's easy, I could use my passport and my driver's license. A lot of people don't have multiple forms of ID. Maybe you do. Not everyone does. So things that you may look at that may just be a line item that you just skip past, like, oh, okay, no food and water. Oh, okay, 2 forms of ID. Okay, those things affect people. They affect having how long the polls are open. That affects people if they're working a normal 9 to 5.
Making it harder for people who can't get off work to arrive at the polls and to cast their vote.
Maybe you can get off of work. I have to keep saying it because when people read these things, they're like, oh, so what's the big deal about that? Yes, maybe you can call off of work. Maybe your job allows it. Some people, their jobs don't allow it. They don't have that luxury. So when you start to limit more and more things or have more and more requirements, now you're limiting the amount of people that can actually vote. Or maybe people are like, oh, that's too much work. Now I'm not going to do it. That's voter suppression, if you just don't understand what that is.
So the Republican responses to MLB pulling out, as well as statements made by Delta and Coca-Cola, have been
Delta, we back,
social
baby!
media. Have been bubbling up on social media and elsewhere. And now that brings us to a segment we are calling Sad, Mad, or Bad, in which we will rate the Republican responses to the MLB pullout. First up, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. Here is his quote. Today, Major League Baseball came to fear political opportunism and liberal lies. Sad, mad, or bad?
I think he's big mad. I think that everything about that I will not back down. Ooh, this is not about you. This is about Georgia, I thought.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Brian Kemp in that statement also quite clearly wants to tie this to Stacey, which
the mother of democracy. But I thought he said that we're not going to be.
He's mad.
And that's bullying. I'm just throwing it out there. That's bullying. You're calling out people. Let's go to Rand Paul. Let's see what he had to say. If needing to show an ID to vote is racist, perhaps New York Yankees tickets that average over $100 are discriminatory. Will woke at MLB mandate free tickets to all equal access? Come on, Jason. Is this sad, mad, or bad?
I'm going to say this is bad because I don't even know what he's getting at here.
Not
like
a clue.
This makes no logical sense. It barely makes any grammatical sense. Like, it's so what? How do
Who's buying tickets that are over 100 anyway? We all just get the cheapest tickets and just have a blast in the stadium. This sounds like an elitist problem. I'm going with bad.
It's incredible.
Let's find out what Clay Travis has to say. The vast majority of sports fans don't want sports to be political. But at some point, you have to fight back to prevent sports from being captured by the tiny subset of woke sports fans. We are finally seeing that happen. What is this, Jason?
This is actually sad because Clay Travis here is trying to spin a defeat for him, Major League Baseball, pulling out of Georgia, as somehow a victory for, quote, the vast, vast majority of sports fans who don't want sports to be political. I don't know how many times that we got to say it. It's like people who say sports shouldn't be political also always seem to ignore the fighter jets that fly over the arena and the 200-foot flag and all the various other presidents throwing out the first pitch again and again and again. What about you? Is Clay Travis sad, mad, or bad here?
I'm going with bad because if you don't even know you lost, that's pretty bad.
What about his Outkick colleague, former ESPN talking head Will Cain, quote, if Georgia is Jim Crow 2.0,
wow,
what does that make New York, where MLB is headquartered?
What?
Is this sad, mad, or bad?
What is it? I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't understand.
I think this one's sad, mad, and bad. I think this one might get in all of the above. What do you think?
I don't. Again, this just kind of shows you the bankruptcy of this line of thought. There are so many issues that are going on in this country that Republicans and Republican commentators could talk about, but this is the thing they want to talk about. And not only is it their chosen battleground, they have absolutely nothing coherent to say about it. I agree with you. It is all of the above, sad, mad, and bad.
Hold on. We got a good one. This is the former NYPD police commissioner.
That's my police commissioner.
That's your commissioner, the former one. He said, it's official. No more Coca-Cola products in my house. It's either Pepsi or iced tea. The iced tea took me out. Until Coca-Cola stops cowering to Marxists, BLM, the radical left, attempting to eradicate the U.S. Constitution. I don't want it. Jason, what you got for that? What do you got for your people?
Well, I need a clarification from former NYPD Police Commissioner Bernie Kerik when he says products in my house. Is he referring to the apartment downtown near Ground Zero that was donated to the city as a resting spot for recovery workers that he then used as a location to meet with his mistress, Judith Regan, who was the publisher of his memoir? Does he mean that home? Or does he mean the apartment that he used a mob-controlled construction firm to renovate while lying to city investigators that same firm had no criminal ties? I should add that Bernie Kerik spent about 3 years in prison and then later served 5 months home confinement because of various charges about this. So I guess I'm going to withhold my judgment until I get some clarification from Bernie about what he means by my house.
Bernie, Jason just sipped your iced tea. My goodness. Let him have it, Jason.
What do you think? Sad, mad, or bad? What do you have for Bernie?
It's bad. Look, Jason, I'm still stuck on the tea that you just was sipping all over the place. I don't even care what he said anymore. I didn't even know all the things that you just said. Yours was none of the above. Yours was happy. Stephen Miller said with his decision to engage in ugly, angry, divisive, and vengeful partisan politics based on a web of outright lies. Commissioner Manfred has betrayed not only the fans of baseball, but the sport itself. There's a lot of other, he keeps on going on. Sad, mad, what is he? Bad, what is it?
I think Stephen Miller, a true goblin in American politics, is big mad. He's big mad, and it's unfortunate. Sorry, Stephen. What do you think? Sad, mad,
I think there's big mad. There's that in between. If you put a little too little, you're sad, but he went on almost a whole rant, a soliloquy. That means, you big mad.
Well, that has done it for this inaugural segment, Sad, Mad, or Bad.
I love this game, Jason. You're a genius.
I love it too.